towards the rear to the far left. Good, good. Well, I'm Chris Hamilton with the West Virginia Business and Industry Council. And on behalf of our many members throughout the state, allow me to welcome everyone today to today's business forum, Policy in Progress. It just occurred to me looking at the program, Policy in Progress, we probably should have inserted another P for politics, because I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit about politics before the day is over as well. Let me also thank our sponsors and point out our sponsors. First and foremost, the West Virginia Chamber of Commerce, the West Virginia Economic Development Council, and also special thanks to Jim Ruland and the Eastern Panhandle Business Association, which for all intent and purposes is a co-host and sponsor here today. And let me also point out Penn National that helped us with all the accommodations and are relieving a little bit of the financial burden on all the organizations here. Penn National, thank you so much. In case you're unaware, the Business and Industry Council is comprised of more than 60 state associations and businesses across the state and across some 26 different occupations. All told, we represent about 400,000 employees throughout the state of West Virginia. We're all over the state, and suffice it to say that we're comprised of all the major trade associations, all the natural resource associations, the retailers, the car dealers, the bankers, the realtors, coal, natural gas, timber, manufacturing, soda pop organizations. I mean, Kroger's, we are comprised of all the major associations. Over the years, our association executives have played the role of the legislative foot soldiers for the business community. They've been the eyes, ears, and voice of state businesses for many, many years, decades. Been known as the foot soldiers, the eyes and ears and voice of state businesses, and we have here over the past 24 months or so, we've been plowing through a transitional period and very conscientiously been wanting to become a bigger player in state policy and the formulation of public policy impacting all of our businesses and industries here in the state of West Virginia. We also played a role in last year's historic election. We formulated an independent expenditure and spent north of $400,000 to elect state legislative candidates around all 55 counties that truly have a desire to represent business and industry within the state capital. And those were state senators, and those were also state House of Delegate members. So we think we played an instrumental role in that historic election last year. After all, we submit to a very basic and fundamental premise. If you want good legislative success, if you want success during the annual 60-day legislature, then you better have legislative success, or election success rather, to presuppose your success within the public policy arena. And we wanted to be, as I indicated, a little more of a player. We wanted to take ownership or at least acquire some ownership in the successes and failures of our state government and our state legislature. We didn't want to just sit on the sidelines and give a yay when they were doing something we approved of, and given a dismay when they were acting on something or had an action that was contrary to our interests. We're continuing to become more of a player with the state legislative and executive process. Now that may sound like a naive voice, but the fact of the matter is we find so many business and community leaders sitting on the sidelines. Unlike organized labor and the trial bar that have a razor focus with respect to who they elect, who they support, and the issues that they want to see accomplished legislatively. We also developed a communications plan so that we could give the appropriate support to our legislative leaders, to this core of business and industry legislators that are truly committed to moving the state forward and truly committed to enacting legislative initiatives that tend to favor business and industry interests. With that, we continue to work around the state, and part of our current self-adopted mission, if you will, is to try to develop a more cohesive focus and voice for state businesses statewide. It's a big part of the reason we're here today. And by the way, this is just an absolute stunning and beautiful part of our state. And we're just so appreciative for all you do. We're so appreciative to all the many contributions you make to our state and all aspects of our state to improve the quality of life in the business framework. But it's a big part of why we're here, to try to get business to function a little more cohesively. We understand this is a couple years mission, and we're absolutely committed to it. And we're committed to trying to get everybody on the same page, supporting the same true business candidates, and supporting the same legislative agenda and priorities. I think you'll find that we have a pretty informative program today. We have what amounts to a kind of a keynote session. We'll hear from House Speaker Tim Armstead, Senate President Bill Cole. We're also going to hear from our Attorney General Patrick Morrissey. We will then get into a menu of timely and current topics ranging from education, energy to some business law type issues. You can see your program. We'll also incorporate a little tax reform, and hopefully you find it to be informative and timely. We have a good lineup of speakers. Many elected officials will be joining in those discussions, kicking off and leading the discussions, as well as participating in the panel aspect of it. Does anybody need the heat turned up in here? I got it about as hot as I could get it, so apologize for that. I think we're working on trying to get that all cooled down. Before we get into our keynote portion of the program, I want to introduce and ask Jim Ruland to come to the podium and say a few words. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of all of us at EPBA, a warm welcome to each of you. God bless all here. Tim, we are absolutely, Chris, we are absolutely delighted to be co-sponsoring this event with you. Today's forum is an important part of the work of both of our organizations, identifying issues important to the region and then exploring ideas to improve the local and statewide business climate. To that end, we have here gathered elected officials from all levels of government, cities, counties, legislators, and statewide. We don't have time to introduce all of you, but may I ask all the elected officials to stand for a moment so we may thank you with our applause. Also present are some of the Eastern Panhandle's largest employers and a host of small business owners. We have representation here today from a wide variety of trade organizations, public policy associations, political action, and special interest groups. And rounding out the mix are a good number of concerned citizens who felt that this forum was important enough to give up the best part of their lovely summer day in order to attend. We're glad every single one of you are here. For the record, all Eastern Panhandle legislators were invited to this forum, but the only regret we received was from Delegate Paul Espinoza, who was umpiring a Babe Ruth World Series game somewhere in Florida. The chief challenge we have today is managing time, and we are already failing. We have a room full of people who talk for a living, and a packed agenda that we won't complete unless we are reasonably brutal on staying on schedule. To that end, I won't extol the merits of EPBA membership, since you can read about that at your leisure. It's the yellow sheet on your table. Instead, let me observe that we may all be witness to history here. I can't recall when we ever had both the Senate President and the Speaker of the House here together in our Panhandle, and I know for sure that we have never had an Attorney General in that mix who was both here and from here before. So welcome, gentlemen, let's get started. It gives me an enormous amount of personal pride to turn this microphone back over to you, Chris, and have our first keynote speaker. Oh, okay, that's what I originally thought. Good, well that's easy. In that case, it gives me an enormous amount of personal pride and pleasure to introduce my friend and across the street neighbor, the Attorney General of West Virginia, Patrick Morrisey.